This was a story that came by the way of one of my subscribers, so I want to thank them for suggesting this topic. In April of 1999, Motley Crue would announce that drummer Tommy Lee would be leaving the group and not joining the band for a summer tour that year, and would not be part of recording any new album for the time being or subsequent tour to support the record. Tommy Lee would release a statement in April of 1999 that read, "I wish the guys all the best of luck this summer. I wish them and the fans, but it's time for me to totally embrace my family and my new projects." Lee would be spending time working on his new rap rock project at the time called Methods of Mayhem. Vince Neil would tell Classic Rock in the year 2000, all we got was a call from his attorney saying he wasn't coming back. He wasn't into rock and roll anymore. He even said that rock is dead. It all happened during a void in Motley. We weren't even rehearsing, so it was no big deal, he'd say. It was around this time that Lee had spent some time in jail after a domestic altercation with his ex-wife Pamela Anderson, and MTV would report that his jail stint contributed to his decision to leave the band, as did his poor relationship with frontman Vince Neil. In fact, in 2000, Lee would talk to Rolling Stone and revealed that he had an altercation with Vince Neil and hadn't spoken to his ex-bandmates since his departure, claiming the frontman, and I quote, "sucker punched him in Vegas at an airport while the band was on tour to promote its greatest hits album." Lee would state that Neil was, and I quote, "doing his usual daily drunk guy thing." Neil would shoot back, though, telling the New York Post that the drummer, and I quote, "sounds confused and a bit hypocritical." The frontman would also take a swipe at his new project, Methods of Mayhem, saying, "dreadlocks and artists like Lil' Kim and Snoop Dogg in your video don't make you urban or an alternative act." Within a week of the announcement coming, the band would find a replacement in drummer Randy Castillo, who had previously played with Ozzy. Bassist Nikki Sixx would release a statement that read, "Randy is the best drummer we know. He's known for being a hard-hitting rock drummer, and we're thrilled for him to be out with us." Castillo would add, "I got a call from Nikki and couldn't think of a better way to spend my summer than playing with Motley Crue. Been a fan for years and look forward to being part of the madness." While Castillo would tour with the band that summer and record drums for their new album, New Tattoo, he would be unable to tour with the band to promote the album as he was diagnosed with a bleeding ulcer that required surgery, according to MTV. Then in June of 2000, the band enlisted Hole drummer Samantha Maloney, and she would tell NRK.no how she got the gig, saying, "In 1999, I went to my first concert with Randy Castillo on drums. I was introduced to the band afterwards. Then one morning in May or June of 2000, Nikki Sixx emailed me. He told me that Randy was ill and said if I wanted to fill in for him, the job was mine. I jumped on a plane that day from New York and headed out west to Los Angeles to work with the band for the rest of the year," she'd say. Maloney, who was 24 at the time, would issue a statement upon her joining the band, saying it had been a lifelong dream for her and compared it to winning the lottery. Even Hole frontwoman Courtney Love gave her blessings in the same statement, saying, and I quote, "It is a great moment in history of rock when Samantha Maloney gets to play Girls, Girls, Girls with Motley Crue," she'd say. Maloney would tell NRK when asked about the band's history of perceived sexist behavior and internal conflict, saying, "It was a dream for me to be playing in a band that was very influential in me picking up drumsticks in the first place. I was not aware of any sexist behavior or band conflicts when I joined the band. I was a fan of the music. As far as sexist behavior in my experience, women who surrounded the band backstage had no respect for themselves. Many women will do whatever it takes to get to meet these guys. All I had to do was be myself." She would also go on to say that the band members themselves were very supportive of her, and that while some fans were hesitant to see her behind the drum kit, she was able to win them over at each concert. It was during her time on the road with the band that writer Neil Strauss joined Motley Crue on tour to write his infamous book, The Dirt. While Maloney would hear the stories firsthand from the band, she would admit to never reading the book when it came out a few years later. Maloney would tour with Motley Crue until about January of 2001 and can be heard on the DVD Lewd, Crude, and Tattooed, as well as live material on the album New Tattoo. Asked by NRK to share some Crue tour stories, she demurred, "All I can say is you can't even imagine." It was around 2001 that Randy Castillo, who was recovering after his surgery, would be diagnosed with cancer after finding a lump on his jaw. Sadly, in March of 2002, he would pass away and the band would go on hiatus until 2004. Maloney would go on to play with a variety of groups, including the Eagles of Death Metal and Peaches, in addition to an all-female project called the Chelsea. In 2009, she would give an interview to NRK where she was asked, "Do you still keep in touch with any of the members of the band?" To which she responded, "Funny enough, the member I'm closest to is Tommy Lee. He is a friend of mine and is one of the nicest guys in rock and roll." Maloney's name would come up again in 2006 in regards to Motley Crue, when it was reported that bassist Nikki Sixx and his wife, former Baywatch star Donna D'Errico, would be getting divorced. Those reports would state that Sixx and D'Errico had previously split earlier but had gotten back together after rumors circulated of Sixx cheating on his wife with Maloney. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories.